How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this review today. This is Cinemaholic Productions. My name is Ryan, and I'm a Cinemaholic.
My name is Spencer, and I am a cinemaholic.
Today's review, you've clicked on it, you saw the title. We are talking about A Cure for Wellness. I don't know. This is one I'm excited to review because I haven't 100% made up my mind. I saw this movie a few days ago, and I'm still thinking about it. So to kick us off, Spencer, what's this movie about, and what are your thoughts?
So, the plot, according to the internet, is an ambitious young executive is sent to retrieve his company's CEO from an idyllic but mysterious wellness center at a remote location in the Swiss Alps, but soon suspects that the spa's miraculous treatments are not what they seem. This was directed by Gore Verbinski, who did the I think first three Pirates of the Caribbeans, and he also did The Ring. So Ryan, you kind of gave us a little bit of a sampling of your thoughts there. What did you think of A Cure for Wellness?
I like I said, I'm still thinking about this movie. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm gonna score this one on the spot when we get to that segment. I don't know. It simply put, it's very gorgeous. The production design, even the costuming, the cinematography, it's very pleasing to look at. And that's my biggest takeaway from this. I actually really dug the first hour and 45 minutes. It's a very well paced. It worked for me. I don't know, because it doesn't really go anywhere for an hour and 45 minutes. It's a very long movie. It's like 2.5 hours. But I was actually intrigued and engaged. I really like Dane Dehaan. I know a lot of people don't like him. And he doesn't necessarily bring anything new or extra to this role that we haven't seen him do before. But I really like him for some reason. I think he really is a good actor, and I'm excited to see where he goes if he gets bigger movies. But really, the biggest thing that I can say is it looks like they had a bigger budget than they had for this, and the directing is okay. I didn't necessarily really like the Pirates movies or most of this director's other stuff. I'll give him that The Ring was good, but that's all I want to get into, really, without going too specific into anything. What are kind of your thoughts?
So this movie's a mess. I want to start off by saying that. But what a big, beautiful mess this movie is. Honestly, I really, despite the fact that this movie doesn't always make sense, I really like this movie. I'm a fan of this movie. I want to go see this again. As soon as possible. And like Ryan said, this is a movie that's long. It's super lengthy, but especially like you said, that first hour and 45 minutes, wow, especially particularly the first 30 minutes, there's this really cryptic letter they get from the boss, and just the dialogue of that letter, I was like, okay, this is going to be something that really delves into the psyche of people, and in the dialogue in the letter, it talks about how mankind's basically a sickness and all this really cacophonous language. And then they get into it and they don't ever really delve into the psyche of people, which I was kind of like, oh, okay. So, but the way that this movie set up its mystery, the way that it kind of moved around, almost felt like a fairy tale to me, but with really horrific elements. There was this movie lingers on some really disturbing stuff in some scenes, but overall, despite all that, guys, I liked it. I don't know why, but I just really was into this movie. And maybe it's because I'm kind of a sucker for horror, and big epic horror at that. This movie really, it almost felt like there were parts where it's paying homage to The Shining with the isolation of this environment.
Yeah, The Shining meets Crimson Peak.
That's actually or
Guillermo del Toro movie.
Right. That's actually really good. I like that you brought up Crimson Peak, because Crimson Peak is another movie that I think is dreadfully underrated. And that's the other thing. I looked up reviews for this movie afterwards, And I was pretty floored. Like, it's really mixed. There's some people who love Cure for Wellness, and there's some people who really hate it. And I think I lean a little more to the loved Cure for Wellness guys. Like, I really found this movie intriguing. I found it interesting. And Dane Dehaan, you know, he starts off as this really, really nasty, just unlikable person. And he actually brings depth, I think, to this character. And by the end of the movie, I was really like, oh boy, I'm rooting for you just for the fact alone of what you are going through. Right. So what would you score this, Ryan?
I am going to score it a 5.9. A 5.9 out of 10. I think I did like it more than I didn't like it. The ending is a mess. I don't, walking out of it, I don't really get the point of the movie, but it was beautiful. It was intriguing. I was engaged. The last 30 minutes lost me because it goes horrific and gruesome and gory, and that's not my thing. There is a ton of, like, without going to spoilers, there's a ton of body horror and gore that makes you literally cringe. And I'm not a fan of that, but it did its job. So there's that. But 5.9. What about you?
I think I'm gonna give this movie an 8.25. I really dug this movie, guys. Like, I mean, I'm usually not a fan of like the whole torture type of stuff in movies, and I really think that this movie's plot kind of justifies it. I really am interested in like insane asylums, all that type of stuff, and this isn't really an insane asylum, but in a way it kind of is. So that being said, let's move kind of into spoilers real quick. We got a couple requests to do spoilers. So I guess the biggest question I had when I walked out of the movie initially is, so first off, how did the doctor, who turns out to be the Baron of this place, the 200-year-old man, how did he survive for so long, right? Like, that part I felt like was really, really glossed over in the movie. And then I went and I read an article actually on moviepilot.com, and it kind of explained a little bit of like what I was thinking, but they even say that they didn't really understand that part. So what I've gathered is that the eels that are in lots of the horror sequences in this movie, they're like 300-year-old creatures because this mountain water, in the Alps, and that part I caught in the movie. But so they're like, when they make these,
I'm going to stop you right there. I think that's impossible to not catch because literally every 10 lines is about water.
Right. So but anyways, with the vitamins, it's like, wait a second, like, am I missing something? Why do they need the humans to, like, you know, when that part where they shove the tube down his throat and you're like, oh no, and then they put the eels like inside of him and they start making the vitamins, and you see that's how they make these like vitamins that keep them alive for this long. And that part, it was like, wait, so I get that that's a horrific looking image, right? Getting a tube literally shoved down your throat, and you see it like in his throat, like bulging out. And I was like, oh no, because like, I mean, guys, unrelated to this, but one time I had a surgery where I'd have a tube shoved down my throat and they didn't give me enough anesthesia, so I literally at first was having a tube shoved down my throat. Sorry, stumbled with the words there. And so that part really got to me. But I don't know, what are your thoughts kind of on this, because I feel like they did not explain that well enough, the part with the whole vitamin thing.
And I don't know, it wasn't explained, though they give you like a few little hints that it's kind of like infer, but that's a downside to it, is like they didn't really explain anything. And I think the vitamin it's like a mixture of the water, the eels, and the humans, and those three kind of make like this cycle that, when produced in that order and stuff, because the eels get shoved into the human and then the humans become, and they're thrown back into the water to become food for the eels, and the water is then has this element and this property that allows them to stay, and the whole purpose that he can stay alive is just so he can screw his daughter. What?
So that I actually dug. I thought that whole aspect, when he finds out that he was the guy, I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought it was going to be was at first I thought she was the sis, not the no,
the
yeah,
sister wife.
I thought she was a ghost. She was gonna be a ghost or something
That's
of like the
really
sister,
sets it up in the beginning
right?
with her like appearing on the castle, and it's
Correct.
kind of weird. I don't know.
So there's one more thing I wanted to add. So what my biggest gripe with this movie, I obviously couldn't say this in the spoiler thing, is where the guy like takes off his face like Scooby-Doo style, and
Yeah.
he has like that weird green looking just like
Ill.
yeah, it was like what is I guess I didn't catch that, but the eel thing, maybe you just bumped the score up higher just for that alone. Not really, guys. It looked really hokey. It looked weird and strange to me. But yeah, so I feel like the plot wasn't always clear in this movie, and I don't think they were trying to go for ambiguity. Did you?
No.
Okay. So yeah, I think that overall, like I said, it's just such an interesting, intriguing mess for me to kind of look at that I really wound up liking it, guys.
Well, I see, and that's why I'm so split, is because I think they had so much material and so much ripe area that they could have gone, so many intriguing ideas, and like you said, they could have gone into the whole psyche, and they could have gone a direction that I really, really, really would have liked. But I feel like it's a very incoherent mess, and it's never fully resolved. And then they do I mean, the pacing, the whole beginning I was so into, and I felt like it could go that direction. And then the last 30 minutes is just like, let's scare you with horror and blah, 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 blah. Whereas even like the beginning when he's in the tank and he's just laying there, before they even filled it up with water, I was like, freak, I know where this is going. And that's horrific. Like, you don't even have to show me that. That is one of my biggest fears. I wouldn't get into that. And then the eels start going, and then he gets stuck in there, and I was like, that is so scary. And if they could have kept that kind of thing, I would have dug it. But then they kind of go the other direction, which isn't my thing. So I don't know. I don't know. And there were some spots where I was just like, eh? Even like the deer, the CG for the deer, it was bad. Everything else looked so good. It's like, come on. Why couldn't you get that a little bit better?
It was no The Revenant bear
Right.
at all. So yeah, guys. If you tend to agree with our thoughts, I think that we'd both suggest checking this one out just for like the sheer ambition and scope of the movie. But it sounds like Ryan's a little bit more negative than I am on this one. I kind of dug Cure for Wellness. Maybe a little bit ashamed to say, just because of how he's right. It is very incoherent, but despite that, I liked it for some reason, guys. So I think that me and Ryan this next week, actually, this weekend, we might be together. So we'll probably do a review for Get Out with each other. We're gonna be helping our friend Stephen Perry on a short film he's going to be shooting, and still in the works. Might not happen, but it seems to be a pretty sure thing. So yeah. Ryan, do you have any other announcements or anything to add before we sign off?
No, just stay tuned, because I mean, if it happens, we'll do the Get Out review, and we're gonna do an Oscars special, because the Oscars are a week from tomorrow. So stay tuned. Follow us. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Rye_Gordon. Where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at SpinnyHen. And also, guys, make sure to email us, cinemaholicproductions@gmail.com. You can email us whatever you want. Your thoughts on a movie, a question you have about a movie suggestions. In our meetings, we're going to start answering those emails. So that's something that we're really, really looking forward to. So cinemaholicproductions@gmail.com. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. And until next time, bye.